welcome Nigel Burton, who's chair of the Abergavenny Food Festival. And in fact, Nigel was one of the people who was a victim of my time fascism earlier. And one of the things that Nigel wanted to point out really is how much the Food Festival does in terms of encouraging children to know more about food and to grow their own food. And so I'm pointing it out to you now. Sorry, Nigel, that we didn't manage to have that question. And I'd like to all to give a big round of applause to Nigel, chairman of the Food Festival. If it wasn't for the Food Festival, we wouldn't be here now. And then he will introduce the minister.
Thank you all for being here today. It gives me enormous pleasure to welcome our next speaker, because I'd like to claim him as a local lad, really. In a previous career, he was a county councillor in Gwent, and of course we were once part of Gwent, and I think he was also a councillor in Newport, which is, well, Monmouthshire boundary goes to within about 3 miles of Newport. He's had enormous experience both outside of government and inside of government. Before becoming an AM, he studied law as a mature student, actually worked in Abergavenny as a lawyer, specialised in criminal law, personal injury and general civil litigation. It's a wide-ranging load of stuff, isn't it? Since becoming an AM, he served previously as Deputy Minister for Economic Development, Deputy Minister in the Health and Social Services portfolio, with special responsibility for older people, and Deputy Minister for Skills. He was also Counsel General and leader of the legislative programme. So, what a wide-ranging experience. Now, John, you have a very important job, which is very relevant to what we're talking about today, as Minister for Environment and Sustainable Development. I'm enormously impressed by your list of responsibilities, which goes to 3 pages, but I would just summarise it as saying you have cross-cutting responsibility for sustainable development and cross-cutting measures of mitigation and adaptation in relation to climate change. Welcome to Abergavenny. I'm sure you're going to stimulate us, and I hope you enjoy your visit. Thank you.
It's very good to see you all here today. I was, in fact, speaking at the Abergavenny Food Festival last year, and I've been here for a number of years. In fact, I well remember taking part in a sort of ready, steady, cook competition, where sadly I managed to set fire to the kitchen roll. But apart from that, it's always been very positive and pleasurable to be here at the food festival. And it's really impressive to see how it's grown and developed year on year. And along with all of you, I hope very much it continues to do so, and I'm sure it will, because there are lots of people with real energy and ideas driving the food festival forward. So let me just say that it's really important to us in Wales to have events like the Abergavenny Food Festival taking place, because they bring many important advantages, economic, social and environmental. They stimulate many ideas. They attract visitors, and visitors spend money. And it's very important to us to have the opportunity as ministers as well to come along and share some ideas and inform, hopefully, all of you as to what the more important aspects of assembly, environmental and food policy and programmes are at the moment. So, that in many ways these are really important events for us, and as I say, it's very pleasing to see them building and growing from year to year. When it comes to the economic importance of food festivals, to producers and local communities, there was a report done by Miller Research, and I think Nick Miller is here today, isn't he? And it clearly demonstrates that importance of food festivals. It looked at 49 festivals, all supported by the Welsh Government, involving around 500 individual producers. And in total, these festivals attracted around 350,000 people per year, which generated around £7 million in direct sales to producers, and an average of that made up an average of 32% of their annual sales. So obviously very significant to those producers. And visitors, as I say, obviously spend a lot of money when they attend these festivals, and that's very important to local communities, and that amounted to around £23 million. So I think it's clear that even in economic terms alone, these food festivals have become a very important part of activity here in Wales. But as I say, their benefit is far beyond the economic, and actually they play an important role in helping us achieve the sort of sustainable country that we want to be in Wales, because food, of course, is a critical issue. The food that we produce, eat and enjoy is a very important part of our well-being, our quality of life. And it's also really important to our identity, culture and history. It's about a sense of who we are and sense of place. And I think all of us, when we visit other countries, just as other people will feel when they come here to Wales, we will want to sample the food of that country, and that will be an important part of the cultural and visitor experience, and a part that adds a great deal of value and attraction to the visit, the holiday, the stay. So we need to think very much about developing a distinctive Welsh food product and drink product here in Wales, and a lot of work has gone on around that and continues to take place. But for me, environmentally, another really important aspect of food, of course, is the way that we produce it, the way that we transport it, the way that we buy, store, cook, and of course, dispose of food. Because all of that is very important to our ecological footprint, the way that we measure the total resources we use as a country in our everyday lives, really. And our current ecological footprint here in Wales tells us that each of us is living as if we had another 1.5 planets at our disposal. And sadly, we do not. And it's really important that we live in a one-planet way. So, we've got a lot of work to do, and food is important to that, because food accounts for 20% of that ecological footprint. So, what I'd like to do today really is to focus on sustainable development, because that's my key responsibility as Environment Minister, and as part of that, behavioural change, because that's absolutely crucial to making the progress that we want to make. So, our approach to sustainable development is very much about its 3 aspects. It's about the environmental, the social and the economic. And all of that feeds into well-being of communities and people here in Wales. Social justice, of course, and equality of opportunity are absolutely vital priorities of the Welsh Government as well, and that has to be factored into everything that we do. So, what is quality of life for people and communities in environmental terms? Well, a lot of it is about what I think people think of as bread and butter issues, really. It's about things like litter, it's about things like adequate green spaces, enjoyable country walks, and I was talking earlier about some very enjoyable walks I've had and continue to have in Abergavenny, at the Sugarloaf and Blorenge and Skirrid, and around and about towards Crickhowell and back. And that's a really important aspect of quality of life, and we need to inform people as to the walks that are available. We need to make them user-friendly, and we need to make sure they become a regular part of people's everyday lives. It's about parks, it's about allotments, it's about making sure that the environment is more central to the way that people here in Wales live their lives. And our Tidy Towns programme is central to that, and we launched it now back in 2008, some 3 years ago, and it's a partnership with local authorities, and it's very much about those bread and butter issues. They organise litter picks, access improvements, including for disabled people. They turn wasteland into community gardens and make sure there's good provision of allotments. You know, and when we've evaluated the work of Tidy Towns, we've come across many examples of community involvement that have changed attitudes and behaviour. And I've got a quote here actually from a volunteer who said this about a community project that transformed a space that wasn't very attractive into one that was very well used and very much enjoyed. And that volunteer said that people now locally respect their patch much more because it had been cleared, and that very often the right sort of people now were involved in ensuring that that land continued to be enjoyed and stayed immaculate after the initial work was done. And what the volunteer said really was, it seemed as if there was some unspoken rule now about not messing it up again. So, you know, you could see that there was real community buy-in into what had happened around the transformation of an area of land, that people were very much enjoying it, and people, perhaps most importantly, were very much committed to ensuring that it now stayed in a pleasurable and enjoyable condition for the future. So we want to get people involved in improving their environments, in improving their surroundings, in buying into the sort of change that we want to see happening here in Wales, changing the way they live their lives and their behaviour so that we do get to that really important one planet living. And one aspect of this behavioural change that we're trying to achieve, I think, is the 5p minimum charge that we will be introducing on the 1st of October for single-use carrier bags. There's been a lot of debate about it, and people, now that the date is coming close, are debating it afresh. And what we say really is that the most important aspect of this charge will be behavioural change. It should make people think that they will take their own reusable bags with them when they go shopping, so that they don't have to pay the charge. And hopefully that will make them think more widely about why the charge is introduced, why it's important to avoid waste. And we will also not see those plastic bags billowing around in our countryside and getting tangled up in trees and bushes. So, you know, that's going to be a very important part of shaping the agenda and getting people to think about these issues and changing, as I say, the way that people behave and act. So all of that, I think, suggests that this showcase of the Abergavenny Food Festival is very important indeed, because they are very much part of debating these issues, understanding these issues, talking about the way that we behave and how that behaviour needs to change. And it's about communities, individuals and organisations. And one other thing that's vital to this is some of the key initiatives that are taking place at the moment and that we are very committed to as a Welsh Government. And let me just run briefly through a few of those. One is our Sustainable Development Charter. We have over 100 organisations now in Wales making a voluntary commitment to be part of that charter, to make sustainable development their central organising principle as an organisation, and to then share their best practice and learning with each other. So, you know, effectively it builds a network of organisations committed to sustainable development. And we have supporting sustainable living grant scheme, which is open to all organisations in all sectors, and the aim is to enable organisations to run schemes to encourage changes in behaviour and tackle the causes and consequences of climate change. And applicants will already have successfully trialled a behavioural change project. So, you know, there's experience and knowledge built into this, and grants are available to enable them then to roll it out to other areas on a larger scale. And thirdly, we have a broader support for sustainable living framework, which is a framework contract to provide easy access to support and advice to help people and communities achieve a low-carbon way of life. Providers on this contract are there to help communities achieve a shared vision of what a sustainable, resilient, low-carbon Wales will look like. And they can help deliver programmes which achieve a more sustainable way of living. And they can also help evaluate the impact of existing programmes and other activities. So, there's an important resource there available, which again has a great deal of experience and knowledge behind it. So collectively, I think this marks us out here in Wales. These initiatives, these projects, this way of thinking marks out Wales as a country that is very serious about sustainable development and very serious about tackling climate change. We want to make our policies around sustainable development, our scheme, our climate change strategy really count for something on the ground. And again, the Abergavenny Food Festival is a great way of getting messages across, about the importance of quality, fresh, traceable, local food, which is so important to that wider environmental agenda. And we want to strengthen our approach. In no way do we want to rest on progress made to date. We want to strengthen all of that. And one way that we intend to do this, now that we have greater legislative powers as an assembly, as a government, is to introduce a bill, a sustainable development bill, that would actually make it a legal duty, not just for the Welsh Government, but for devolved public bodies in Wales as well, to have sustainable development as their central organising principle. We've chosen to do it as a government, but once the bill becomes law, we would have to do so as a legal duty, and it would extend then to all devolved public bodies in Wales. So, that would be, I think, a very significant development indeed. But that's for the future, and I'm conscious that I shouldn't take up too much of your time because you have much to discuss and debate and others to hear from. So let me just say that obviously today, although I've spoken about many things, today is all about the Abergavenny Food Festival. I'm sure it's going to be a big success once again. I'm sure all of you are enjoying it and will enjoy it very much. And I continue to support the Abergavenny Food Festival very much. And I look forward to coming again in future years and seeing how it's developed and grown even more. Diolch yn fawr.